Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's show, we're doing a in-depth episode all about Phantasialand, located near Cologne, Germany. And this is a theme park I was hugely impressed with when I visited for the first time earlier this year. It generally has a really good attention to detail, a really good collection of high-quality rides and attractions. It's a really well-kept and beautiful-looking theme park. Possibly needs a redevelopment of their front entrance and car park area, and possibly needs a couple more thrill rides, but the way they're developing at the moment, I'm sure they'll come in due course. Now let's actually start off really oddly with the water rides. I don't know quite why. Well, I do, because they're both absolutely fantastic. They're probably the two best water rides I have ever been on. Rivercrest is just so good. So much fun. I mean, I don't know how it kind of really does it, because you wouldn't think by looking at it that it would be anywhere near, the sort of quality you get at, like, a Disney park or at, like, Cedar Fair parks or anything like that. It's just miles beyond it. It's so well themed, so well thought out, designed. It's really clever. It has 3 major drops. Sorry to ruin it for you. The first 2 do get you pretty soaked if you're sitting in the wrong seat. It has a really cool, elevator, escalator type system to get you to the top. It has, a really, well-designed carriage which sits 12 people. It's a bit of a soaker, I'm not going to lie to you. I actually didn't film on it because I was quite worried that my GoPro may drown. So it's definitely one to go on. It's absolutely great. It's by far and away the best rapids ride I've ever been on. And it's probably the best water ride I've ever been on. And then just behind that is Jaffa's, which is just an insane, to call it a log flume seems almost pretty disrespectful to it. It has 3 really cool drops, one of which is backwards. It has insane, theming. It just seems to go on forever. It goes all over the park. I think the second drop is right next to the Black Mamba lift hill. The last drop is right near in the middle of the park, and the first drop is over by where the Colorado Adventure kind of mine coaster is. It just really is sprawling. It just goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes, and so much effort has gone into the theming, the detail, the kind of appearance of it. The last drop as well. Oh my dear God. That drop is just so much fun. I mean, it puts most roller coaster drops to shame at like 75 degrees. It really does hurtle down, and it's pretty damn tall as well. So it's definitely probably the most frightening log flume you're ever going to go on anytime soon. But it's absolutely fantastic. It's a really good addition to the park. It opened in 2014, and to go with their huge expansion recently, it's probably the second best water ride I've ever been on, with Rivercrest being the best. Huge thumbs up to the water rides at this park. They're both really enjoyable, really rideable as well, and they do actually get you quite wet. I mean, actually Chiapas could get you wetter. That would be a huge benefit for it if it did, but as it happens, you say relatively dry-ish on it, which is quite strange, but it's really, really good fun. And in fairness, Rivercrest more than makes up for the wetness factor, so that's why I wanted to start it there, because the water rides at this park are just fantastic. Also fantastic is their selection of thrill rides. So, for example, they have Mystery Castle, which is pretty much an indoor drop tower inside a really, really impressive castle structure, with all the station and everything all enclosed within it, and the queue line and everything. It looks so cool, really, really imposing, and generally the fact they have live actors in the queue line as well. It's really cool. Didn't queue that long for it or anything like that. The ride itself is, I'm not going to say tame. It's fun more than intense or scary. It's just quite fun. It's quite has a pretty sweet kind of launch, and then it has some really cool kind of theming elements at the top with lighting and general kind of atmosphere, and generally some really good quality with it. As well, it's not scary, unfortunately, guys. Just sorry to break that to you. But then they have Telecom, which is pretty much a really simple kind of top spin ride, which on the face of it, whenever I've been on them at every other park they happen to be at, for example, Jurassic World Adventures or Alton Towers with the now closed Ripsaw, they were always really good fun, But nothing any of the too special. They always seem to look like they kind of not just been plonked there, but they didn't seem to take that much effort to construct and install and anything like that. Talican is the exception to that. It integrates a really intense, thrilling ride with fire and water and theming and just an overall just awesome spectacle. It's probably the only one of these rides I'd ever consider going on at night because it would be absolutely stunning at night time. It's just a really picturesque ride. I mean, the only downside is that you really have to go on the front row to really appreciate the effects, whereas the back row is a little bit lackluster. It's still really forceful and intense. It's still a really good ride, but it's nowhere near as good as being on the front. There's also just some really cool mist effects. Pretty much so many effects go into this ride, and the thing is, they worked every time, and they're set to music, and it just literally ticks so many full ride boxes. I mean, the ride itself is really good. The surrounding kind of effects and fire and everything like that is really good, and the fact that you didn't have to queue for it for that long at all is just really, really cool. It's a really good ride, and it's actually a real shame that they do not have more full rides, because the two they do have are of such high quality. It's actually somewhat annoying that they don't have like a couple more. Anyway, moving on to the roller coasters, we of course have Towering, which I've done a particularly detailed and long-winded review of. I really like it. It's my 8th favourite roller coaster in the world at the moment, at the time of this recording, and I can kind of see it staying there for quite a bit because it just has so much force, intensity, transitions, theming, effort, throughput, atmosphere. It generally ticks so many boxes in the good roller coaster department. The second launch takes particular praise because it is just, and the word I always use to describe it is brutal, because it is. The sound it makes is just unreal. It really does hit you. It's like with a baseball bat. It's so forceful and powerful. And I mean, there was actually a guy testing it just before we went on the ride, just making sure everything was fine. He was sitting there looking pretty like grumpy and unhappy, like arms folded. Probably had done it pretty much every day since the ride opened, or all the time. Often rode it like multiple times, so kind of probably a lot of the thrill from certain of the elements of the ride had disappeared there for him. Not the second launch, no, hands up on the second launch, which just shows how good it is, how re-rideable the ride is. It's absolutely fantastic. And then to complement that beautifully is like Black Mamba B&M suspended roller coaster. It has 4 inversions. It is also really, really forceful. It has a really cool kind of African kind of theme to it, being in the African section of the park. I'm not that surprised by that theming, but it really utilises it perfectly. The kind of lift tour is actually really, really cool as well. I love the fact that it goes kind of most of it's inside, but there's a short chunk where you go outdoors and then back indoors, and then the drops outside. The first loop is really cool. It's another really intense, thrilling ride. It's actually really smooth, and generally speaking, really, really good fun. It's definitely worth a ride, and it's really, really cool in the front row as well. And there was almost no queue for it as well, which is absolutely great. Annoyingly, they were only running one train, which is a little bit of a downside. I hate it when operations at a park aren't fully utilised, but it wasn't really needed, so I can understand why. Then we have Rink, which is pretty much just a junior boomerang coaster, very similar to Ben 10 and Drayton Manor. They're usually quite good fun. They're not anything over intense or scary. They, obviously it's just been built in 2016 along with Towering, and it actually kind of interacts with Towering a little bit, but not too much. But yeah, it's really good fun. Don't have anything really to say about it. I mean, it has a really coolly themed kind of drop and area and such. But yeah, I mean, it's just a Vekoma boomerang coaster, so there's not really too much to say about it. But it is quite positive. It's a good ride. Then we have the Colorado Adventure, which I'd highly recommend riding at the back of. You actually get some seriously good forces at the back, surprisingly, for Mine Train. The theming on this ride and the level of effort and detail going into it is just exceptional. You could tell that they spent a lot of time, theming all of the areas of this ride up. It's a long ride. It has 3 lift hills, like multiple drops, loads of different areas it seems as well. It just seems to go on and on. It's really, really good fun at the back. Not so sure it's quite so good fun at the front, but it's a good ride to go on. It's not perfect, but yeah, it's a little bit, slow to get going at points. But yeah, I really enjoyed it personally. I'm very happy I went on it. Following that, we do have Fear and Force, which are pretty much two incredibly fun and enjoyable rides. They're actually in a really cool indoor section as well, which the rides seem to fit perfectly in. A lot of the best parts of them as well is kind of slightly hidden, or you can't really see fully, but you can actually get a really good view of quite a lot of this ride while you're waiting to go on it. The queue line is actually really fantastic. There's some great theming in it. It had really, really good throughput. For whatever reason, they were dispatching trains really quickly for it. We got on really quickly either side. It's absolutely fantastic. Possibly could have slightly better signpostage for which side is which, possibly, would be my only thing. That's a slight downside. That they seem to have made the queue slightly longer and then slightly more confusing about which one is which, especially when the first time you go on it. But overall, yeah, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, I'll give them a bit of a pass on that one. But yeah, it's a really cool ride. I do think Force is better if anyone cares. Or is Fear better? I don't know. Now they're both really, really quality rides. They both have slightly different elements at points as well, but they are generally really, really good fun. Let's go on to park pricing. So it cost us around £46 to enter Phantasialand for a day. This is very much a one-day theme park, even though it does have a few hotels nearby, which do look pretty spectacular. I'm afraid it's just the one day at the minute. They need a couple more roller coasters and thrill rides before it becomes a really good 2-day park. But the infrastructure for that is there. Getting to the park is a little bit of a pain. You have to get the train and then a bus to get there. The bus is owned by Phantasialand and costs €3. The train is really cheap as well. It's about €5, if that. It's a really affordable trip to get there from Cologne. The park generally has, reasonable good food options. We only went to one food place as it happens, and then had some sweets and stuff like that, or chocolate, I should say, later in the day. But yeah, the food place we went to had pizza and nachos and a drink for €7, which was pretty cool, pretty affordable, pretty tasty, pretty filling. The park itself does have, may have some slight infrastructure problems in the future. It does have 2 entrances, which is pretty cool, but the main entrance is a little bit dated, a little bit stuck when I think this park was probably a little bit smaller than it was before the major development of Taron and the subsequent development, which is probably going to happen in this park since that moment. It possibly needs revamping and revitalising. It seems to be quite narrow, the road leading up to it, which could lead to quite a few queues and lengthy delays getting in the future. And hopefully they get around to sorting that out before anything major problems start rearing their heads or anything like that. Price-wise, I was pretty happy with the £46 for it. Offered really good value for money, and overall I really enjoyed the day at the park. It was well worth going to. It looks really picturesque and pretty as well. I imagine it would look pretty spectacular at night. Annoyingly, we were there when it was still pretty light outside, so I couldn't experience some of those rides in the dark, which would have been pretty awesome. So pretty much, the front entrance, that needs a bit of a revamp. Obviously, they hopefully will continue to invest and develop. I know they're building a launched flying roller coaster, which just sounds absolutely spectacular, by the way, as a concept, and it looks really, really, really cool as well from the angles you can see of it, which isn't much. They've done quite a good job hiding it and concealing how the track layout's going to go. A little bit of the element of surprise when it does finally open, I suppose, but I actually would not be too surprised if they were to open another roller coaster within another couple of years. They just seem to, I think, be on a bit of a drive at the minute for improving the park, and it could be a great theme park in the future. Pretty much rivaling that of Europa Park or Heidi Park. That's the sort of competition it has to be, and I'm sure it will actually. I actually have a lot of faith that this could be an absolutely stunning theme park. I mean, it's already a pretty damn stunning theme park. I mean, the theming, generally attention to detail of this park is excellent. The ride quality, and actually in some ways quantity. There's lots of kids rides, lots of dark rides, lots of kind of rides in pretty much every building and area covered. There's a slight downside, by the way, in the fact there's actually a load of hills at this park, so something to watch out for. Will take a little bit out of you. I'm not a fan of hills, by the way. Fun fact there for you. It's a theme park which is really good. I would highly recommend going on the front row on time. The queue to get on it is very minimal. It has pretty much usually really good operations, so you'll get on really quickly. I would recommend going on Rivercrest expecting to get wet. We actually, as it also happened, managed to get around twice. Didn't without getting off it because of the fact there was no queue, which was really, really cool. I always like to see that at theme parks when they never. Because there's no point you going off the ride to go back around. It was we were all happy to go around. There was no one we were into stop and get on the ride earlier. So kind of a little bit of a common sense win there for the staff, who were all really friendly and good. With the exception of one guy on Thailand who seemed to take it very, very seriously. That you had to stay in certain queue lines, which is never a particularly good thing, having assigned lines. It's one of the good things about being at the front. They can't stop you going at the front. Overall, though, it's a part that I really appreciated, and a part that I think will get a lot better in the future. Is there any other really good tips? I'd go for Tavern first, partly because it does get a long queue even before it opens. The park pretty much opened to the public at 9 o'clock, and when we were there, the ride opened at 10. So what I'd recommend doing is heading straight for Tavern, taking quite a few photos, and then just chilling. I mean, you'll be waiting in a longer queue probably later in the day for it anyway if it's busy. So you might as well get it straight out of the way and then just go on whatever you fancy for the rest of the day. But it's definitely the cherry on top for this theme park, and probably the reason we ended up going. Because if it wasn't for Town, we probably would have never gone there. But since they've developed and built Town, it's pretty spectacular. Anyway, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this in-depth episode in which I've probably droned more about their future development and how good their rides are, and less about kind of problems and developments and such. But oh well, it's still a video. And anyway, I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe.